Hi everybody and welcome, this is the Apostate Prophet. I hope you're having a great day. Muslims make a lot of claims about how they are satisfied with their lives, and how true happiness and true satisfaction lies within Islam, and that people outside of Islam were sad and depressed and all that. They especially say that about atheists and about apostates like myself, people who have left Islam, that we are unhappy, and that they are very satisfied. This is something that they have to tell themselves and each other. It reminds me of how North Koreans are told that they are happy and that the entire world is sad and depressed. I used to be a Muslim. I know what the Muslim world looks like. I know what it feels like. And I have to say, Muslims are not happy. They are not happy with Islam. They are not happy with their lives. They are overall simply not happy. You can kind of observe this on World Happiness Reports, on maps that show happiness by country. Happiness that is based on self-reported happiness or quality of life or other factors. But there is a problem. How do we define happiness? When we think about happiness, we think about pleasure and joy, satisfaction. If we say that someone is happy, then we describe a state in which that person is satisfied, content. That person takes pleasure and joy from life. We already see that Muslims are among the lowest countries when it comes to happiness. But I would say that in reality, Muslims are even less happy with life. Happiness is not big in Islam and in the Muslim world. Even if Muslims are unhappy, even if they are in misery, even if they are terrible, everything goes wrong, they are poor, they are suffering. When they are asked, Muslims are encouraged to say, Alhamdulillah, I thank Allah, I am good. So even if you feel horrible, even if everything is terrible, you're supposed to say, Alhamdulillah, I'm good. I learned the same thing. Even when I was unhappy, I was supposed to thank Allah and express that I'm actually good, I'm happy, I'm satisfied. So naturally, when you ask a Muslim if they are happy, they will want to say, Alhamdulillah, thank Allah, I am happy. But they're not happy at all. This reminds me of this guy that I met in Iraq, who, whenever I would ask him, I was there for business, and whenever I would ask him how he is, he would say, not too bad. Not too bad. And he would ask me, and I would be like, I'm good, thanks. But not too bad. What kind of an attitude is that? Is that how you live your life? But if you live in Turkey, if you live in Iraq, if you live in Muslim countries, less religious or more religious, you will see that people are generally definitely not as happy as they are in the West, for example. It looks like people are constantly in a bad mood, always ready to fight, always ready to have a conflict, ready to blame each other, to hate each other, to question each other, to complain about the government and the West and this and that. In fact, I lived in Turkey for over 10 years, and I probably heard phrases that sound like the following thousands of times. We are in this state because XYZ, followed by something to blame. To be honest, they would also often blame themselves and how they just are not as good as the West. But people are constantly complaining about how terrible everything is. If you go to Middle Eastern countries, you will see that people often don't work. They put very little effort, very little joy, very little dedication into work. They want to rest, flee from work. Because you're constantly pressured by your religion, you're constantly pressured by society. Muslim societies tend to be very loyalistic societies that care very much about discipline, where joy does not really have a high priority and love doesn't really matter that much. And work, employment, is often rough, cruel. You will find that people don't have fun at all. People don't spend much time with recreational activities. They don't do all kinds of different sports and traveling and all the different exercise and recreational activities, which you find in the West, for example, that everyone is busy with. Life in Muslim countries is rough, which is why people in Muslim countries badly want to go to the West. Many of them would do anything to go to the West, to live in the West, although the same people very often will hate the West and blame the West. While school is a very serious place, growing up at home is very serious. You are taught to abide by Islamic laws and rules, which, if you follow them properly, occupy much of your life and fill your days, so much that there is not much time for you to actually live your life. You are constantly within this Islamic Muslim identity where you have to be and act a certain way, where everyone watches over each other and checks if you are doing the right thing or not. People don't take much time for themselves, which every human naturally needs, and that results in humans being generally unhappy, which then results in people being generally less tolerant and less respectful, less patient toward each other, much harsher toward each other in government, official buildings, politics, employment, even at the doctor's office. I swear, when I was in Turkey, my entire time, that entire decade that I was in Turkey, I didn't want to go to the doctor. Because whenever I went to the doctor, I felt like I was standing before a court, and I was supposed to explain and defend myself. That's how a visit to the doctor feels. What seems to be the problem? Open your mouth. Okay, I prescribe this. You're still here? Let's not even speak about mental health. You don't want to admit that you need help with your mental health. Already in your teenage years, you are constantly reminded that you are now a man and you are supposed to act like a man, be serious, not spend time doing fun things. Do serious things like go and work at a factory or pray. You can also see that people are generally not healthy because they don't take health very seriously, just as much as they don't take their own fun and their own pleasure very seriously, which also results in poor health, which also results in less happiness. But if you ask the average Muslim, they will say that they are definitely happier and definitely more satisfied than you are. They must be. They wouldn't be able to explain why they are not happier, and it would hurt the Muslim identity, the Muslim pride. Some Muslims like to go to some researchers that say that Muslims have a higher life satisfaction, and they also like to pick out certain statistics which show that Muslims are less likely to commit suicide. And that might be true. Muslims might more often express that they are satisfied, and they might be less likely to commit suicide. But that doesn't mean that Muslims are happier. People do not commit suicide because they are unhappy. People commit suicide because they have mental health problems, because they have depression, they have other mental health issues. They commit suicide because they find themselves in despair due to life events, or something happens to them, something traumatic, something shocking and stressful happens. People don't just decide to commit suicide because they don't feel very happy. In Muslim society, there is a big stigma associated with suicide. And in the Islamic religion, suicide is considered extremely bad. If you commit suicide, that means you will go to hell for a very long time. Fantastic, right? How fair. Where a Muslim individual might be much more sad, but much less likely to commit suicide and much more likely to spend their life in sadness without taking their life. A person who is irreligious, for example, who is an atheist, and who is generally happier about life, but who finds themselves in despair or in a mental health problem, is more likely to commit suicide. Because they don't fear that this will hurt their pride and honor, which is extremely important in Muslim culture. And they don't care that they will burn in hell for committing suicide after they die. It is therefore understandable that in Muslim culture, where pride matters a lot and where suicide is terrible, suicide is much less of an option. And that in such a culture where people compulsively say that they are satisfied, Alhamdulillah, to make Allah happy, they will express that they have more life satisfaction. Whereas in reality, they are definitely not remotely as happy, let alone happier, than the average Western person, for example. So, to wrap it up, some people might indeed be blinded by the idea that Islam might give them a purpose and a satisfaction with life. In reality, that is not the case. What it does is to give you the idea that you are now living for something, you are now living fulfilled, you are living for Allah and dedicating your life to that. But on the other hand, you are not really happy. When I was religious, I wasn't very happy, and I knew that back then, and I know it now. But if you had asked me, I would have smiled and said, Alhamdulillah, I'm good. And if I was asked in a survey about life satisfaction, I would probably also have said, Alhamdulillah, I'm good, because I have a duty toward Allah. I'm supposed to express gratitude. But does that reflect the truth? Definitely not. And if you live in two cultures, a Muslim culture, an average Muslim culture, and a Western culture, for example, you will clearly see that in a Western culture, people are much more satisfied, much happier, Whereas in a Muslim culture, people don't have the chance to be happy. And that is no surprise. It was Muhammad who reportedly said that you shouldn't laugh much because laughter kills the heart, which is very dumb. Please don't listen to Muhammad. And he also said that if you knew what he knows, you would laugh little and weep a lot. Please don't listen to Muhammad. And the system and the society that he established was also devoid of joy, of pleasures, of fun, of anything that makes people happy, that people naturally need. And all your focus is on submitting to Allah and fooling yourself into thinking that you are living a fulfilling life while you are definitely, clearly in misery. So, Muslims are not happy. I hope this is a little bit of an insight. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to hear more, don't forget to like and to subscribe. If you want to support me and what I'm doing, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I appreciate your support very much. I will be back shortly. Have a fantastic day, and for your own happiness, stay away from Islam.